Welcome to This Explainer, where today we're diving into and validating a very specific and honestly very painful realization. We are talking about the feeling of not being someone's first priority. If you've ever felt like you're just sort of standing on the periphery of your own relationships, always looking in from the outside, well, you are absolutely in the right place. We're going to decode exactly how this experience isn't just some fleeting insecurity all in your head. It's actually a profound, systemic experience that physically rewires your brain and fundamentally changes how you perceive every future human connection.
So, you know that uncomfortably accurate sinking feeling in your stomach? You know, the exact one I'm talking about. It's when you're scrolling and you see photos on social media of a group outing you definitely weren't invited to. Or maybe it hits you when you realize you were only invited to dinner because someone else canceled at the last minute. It's that sudden, quiet realization that you're the backup plan. Or perhaps you've noticed you have this uncanny, almost psychic ability to sense a shift in a friend's mood or a growing distance between you two long before a single word is even spoken. You literally sense the pull away before it ever actually happens.
Okay, let's dive right into the science here, because this is absolutely crucial. Psychological research reveals that being the second choice isn't just a sad social experience or a brief moment of disappointment. Not at all. It's a repetitive pattern that fundamentally, physically, rewires how your brain processes human connection. If this feels a little too close to home right now, please take a breath and know you aren't imagining things. Your mind is simply adapted to survive in a world where affection has always felt incredibly unstable. Section 1. The second choice experience. Let's start our journey by looking at the quiet, heavy reality of what it actually means to adapt to this. When you've historically been the second choice, you often carry around this incredibly quiet, deeply internalized belief, I can be replaced at any time. And wow, that belief is so heavy. It forces you to constantly downplay your own needs. Maybe you agree to go to a restaurant you absolutely hate, or you bite your tongue when someone chronically disrespects your time, all just to ensure you stay included in the group. You don't necessarily fear being alone. What you actually fear is being quietly swapped out for someone deemed better or more fun. This constant buzzing awareness running in the background makes you so hesitant to take up space or demand the priority you actually deserve in your relationships.
Moving on to Section 2, Wired for Hyper-Awareness. This is where things get really interesting, as we shift from emotional pain to the actual psychological science of your brain's adaptation. You see, repeated social rejection cranks up what psychologists call rejection sensitivity. Because you learned the hard way that being ignored or replaced usually comes quietly, your mind had to develop a hyper-awareness. Have you ever caught yourself analyzing the exact pitch of someone's voice or noticed a slightly longer than usual pause before a text message response? You do this to catch the warning signs of social rejection early. Your brain became extremely adept at reading the room and picking up on the most subtle behavior changes, simply so it doesn't get blindsided again. Because of this intense rejection sensitivity, you completely stop trusting surface-level interactions. If a friend says, "Oh, I'm fine," you don't just take that at face value. No way. Instead, your brain runs a constant, exhausting analytical processing of every single social cue. You are constantly gathering data to keep yourself safe from sudden abandonment. It's like running a heavy background app on your phone. It drains the battery. It is a brilliant survival mechanism, for sure, but taking a step back, you can see how utterly taxing this is on your nervous system. You are working overtime in every single conversation just to feel secure. Section 3, the defense mechanisms. Now we need to understand the specific, exhausting behaviors you've developed to protect yourself. If you grew up feeling that emotional support was totally inconsistent, your brain adapted through a fascinating mechanism called survival independence. You basically just stop expecting rescue. You stop expecting reassurance or validation from others because, well, you've learned that help isn't guaranteed to stick around. So you handle your pain alone. You solve your problems alone. The emotional toll here is immense, and it's really important to note, it's not a preference for isolation, it's a survival tactic. While you might not hate receiving help, you deeply struggle to trust it when it actually arrives, because your past taught you that you are your only permanent advocate. To fight this awful feeling that love is conditional, you eventually fall into a destructive, people-pleasing loop. It's like a trap. It starts with that fear of being swapped, right? Which immediately leads to you downplaying your own needs. Then, step 3, you overgive. You provide way more time, more energy, and more understanding than you ever receive in return. You are desperately trying to become so incredibly useful and accommodating that you literally become irreplaceable. But inevitably, running on empty like that just leads to step 4, deep burnout, which just reinforces that same survival independence we just talked about.
Section 4, your hidden emotional strength. Let's reframe this, because what feels like a social weakness is actually an incredible psychological strength.
This dynamic reveals a very common misconception. People probably look at you and call you easygoing or chill, right? But psychology reveals that your calm exterior when plans fall apart isn't just you being laid back. The psychological reality is a profound, silent, emotional endurance. Research on resilience actually shows that those who face chronic social exclusion develop the incredible ability to survive disappointment without breaking down. You stay calm when people leave because, frankly, you've seen it all before. Your strength is quiet, and it's built from years of processing really complex social patterns.
And because affection has felt so unstable in your past, your brain rightfully shifts its focus. Think about it. A loud celebration, an expensive gift, or a massive tearful apology, that means almost nothing to you. Being chosen once in a big, flashy way isn't going to lower your guard. Instead, your brain prioritizes safety, honesty, and effort. You crave the daily consistency of being chosen every single day. You value unshakable loyalty over intensity because loyalty is literally the only metric that proves you aren't just a temporary option.
Section 5. Rewiring the pattern. As we wrap up this explainer, it's time to separate your core identity from the shame of rejection.
Look at this. You have actually developed incredible cognitive superpowers. Seriously. You can catch warning signs early, you can survive deep disappointment, you can instantly spot true loyalty, and you deeply, deeply understand human behavior. If you have spent your life feeling like the backup plan, you really need to know that you are not difficult, and you are certainly not too sensitive. You are carrying around a brilliant mind that has learned to survive by seeing the flaws, the patterns, and the shifts that everyone else is just too busy or too oblivious to notice.
Your hyper-awareness isn't a flaw. It is a highly developed cognitive skill. So the ultimate question is this. Now that you know your ability to read the room is a profound strength rather than a weakness, how will you use this truth? How will you use it to break your old people-pleasing patterns, step into your power, and finally demand the priority you actually deserve? Think about that as you navigate your relationships this week. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I look forward to decoding more fascinating topics with you next time.